Hi guys, welcome back to another video, and today we're simply going to talk about the top 10 poker mistakes. So, hopping right in, mistake number 1 is called poker isn't a 9 to 5. Now, with poker, we don't get paid to turn up. This is a big mistake that people assume. Just mindlessly playing the game doesn't earn us money. We need to be playing mindfully, we need to be beating the field that we're playing against. We don't get paid for sitting at the computer. It's a competitive game in whereby we have to actually be outplaying our opponents to earn money. It's not a 9 to 5. People will assume when they first start playing the game that it's like other jobs. It's not in that case. We need to be playing on our A game, beating the fields. We need to be playing and performing, not just turning up at the tables. That's mistake number 1. Mistake number 2 is learning and playing GTO. What I mean by this is, new players learning the game, they assume that by just learning a GTO strategy that they're going to win at the games. You need to understand how to apply it and whereabouts you need to adjust this strategy. This is really important because if you just start playing using solver outputs in certain games, you're going to really struggle, especially because you won't be able to apply a full GTO strategy. Nobody can. Where it's important to learn GTO is to understand in what areas people are not playing the game well and how we can adjust our strategy to exploit that. Mistake number 3 is playing in Zoom formats or tough games. Now the reason for this is our win rate is determined by the gap between our skill and our opponents. If I'm the best player in the world and I'm playing against the other best players in the world, it doesn't matter how good I am, I'm not going to be winning very much money in the game. Conversely, if I'm a bad player but I'm playing against the worst players in the world, I'm still going to make lots of money in that game. What we need to do is we need to be selecting games where we're beating opponents and we're making money. Don't play tough formats and loads of volume in Zoom games. It's a trap. Try and find good reg table options or good Zoom options where we're beating opponents. Mistake number 4 that I see poker players make is they're investing lots of time in 1% improvements. What I mean by this is there are lots of parts of the game where we can make big 5, 10, 15% improvements, and they're probably not areas that you would necessarily think of. People are spending hours and hours looking at the frequency of their flop c-bet on this certain board and that certain board, but what they don't think about is, am I sleeping well? Am I doing exercise? What is my mental game like? These are all big areas which we can create improvements and win rate in the game in real time. They're not fake. So don't focus on the 1% improvements, think about the 10% ones. Mistake number 5 is tilt management. Now this comes under a broad spectrum. It's about variance control, it's about choosing appropriate games, it's about making sure that our emotional control is good. But all of these things basically come under variance in some capacity for most people in the game. When we hit bad variance, when we start losing some sessions, it can be very frustrating. And we need to make sure that we're playing on our A game at all times, even when we're in bad variance. If we're winning lots of money when we're winning, but we just lose it all when we lose, then it's bad. What we need to be doing is minimizing losses in bad stretches and crushing our wins when we're going on winning streaks. So 25% of your life as a poker player will be in losing periods. You need to make sure that those losses are minimized and the wins are maximized. Mistake number 6, guys, we're flying. Mistake number 6 is not understanding positional play. One of the biggest factors in poker is the position that you're in relative to your opponents. The button obviously being relatively always in position to everyone else. But when an opponent opens, if we're acting behind them often, unless we're in the blinds, we're going to have position on that player. So it's important that you understand position and how it affects gameplay. Especially when you're deeper, how does being in position affect what we can do with our hands? When we're deeper, how does being out of position affect what we can do? Knowing these things is really important, especially as you start moving up the stakes. People will be taking advantage of that, and there are big edges to be made in those situations. Mistake it's 7, Jesus. Mistake number 7 is using tells. Okay? What I mean by this is people use tells too religiously and they think that they've got a good tell, but they'll use it over information that's way more relevant to the hand. And what I mean is, don't just ignore tells. Of course, they're a factor in the game, whether you're live or online. However, there is way more useful information that most people should be using before they use tells, such as what's the bet size, What's the timing of the hand? What strategy is he taking? What bet strategy did he use? What range of cards does he have? How is the board run out? Things like that are usually much more useful information than a tell that you think you might have on an opponent. So using the information hierarchically, if that makes sense, or using the information top down so that we understand what's the most important information, what do we want to consider first, and then work our way down from there. And if we still don't have information and we're 50-50, we're on the fence, then we can start using our tells. Mistake number 8, especially at the low stakes. Poker players play too tight. I've seen this. I've done 2 bankroll challenges, or I'm doing my second bankroll challenge now, and I see this a lot at the lower stakes. People play very tight pre-flop and on the flop. They're folding lots of hands to 3 bets. They're not 4 betting enough. They are going to be folding to lots of C bets, and they're just playing very tight generally in those earlier stages of the hands. As you start moving up, you need to, or people start to understand that we have to play a range of hands, and they're not always going to be the best or the strongest hands. I'm not saying play everything, but we need to decide which sort of hands we want to play and how we can create a profitable strategy using a range of hands rather than just the strongest ones. Mistake number 9 that I see is over-analyzing spots. Often players, especially today with the way that poker is taught online, with all the information out there, people understand these, or they get taught these ideas, but they don't understand them fully, and they get to a spot where realistically, if they were actually worse at the game, they would probably come to a better conclusion than they would after learning all this information. Now, what I mean by that is sometimes we're trying to use too many different things, and we're trying to use concepts that our opponent doesn't even know about, or that isn't even relevant in this situation. And so in those examples or those scenarios, sometimes we have to go back to what is our hand, what do we not want to do with it, and the very simple ideas of the game. That's the biggest mistake that I see. One of the biggest mistakes that I see people making is you overanalyzing hands or using information that isn't relevant. The last and final mistake that I am going to give is people deciding that because they have made a decision on one street that they must make a decision on another street. This is a fallacy in the game of poker. I don't know why it exists, but just because you call the turn does not mean you have to call the river. Now conversely, if you have called the turn, sometimes you do have to call the river, but they're not exclusive, okay? So sometimes when we call the turn and nothing changes on the river, we can fold on the river if the information is correct. Sometimes if we call on the turn and nothing's changed, we can call on the river. But what it doesn't mean is that once we call on the turn, we must call on the river. Not true. So guys, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really enjoyed making this one actually. If you did enjoy the video, please hit the like button. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel. We're going to be making new videos, me and my editor Jack, shout out Jack, and we will be trying to bring more poker content to you guys. And yeah, we also have a Discord, we have a Twitch channel, so if you're wanting to follow those, links will be in the description. And yeah, let us know what other videos you want us to make, and we will get it done for you. Thank you very much for watching guys, and I will see you guys on the next one.